speaking through all dear brothers and through the wonderful skit that our youth and the kids have done. Amazing. So the last word, we come to the last word. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Luke 23:46 says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And when he said this, he breathed his last. Amazing. Taking the baton from, because this word is very closely connected to the previous words that Brother Jensen has shared. It is finished. So just to take this forward from where he has left. How many of the people who are going through such amount of persecution and pain on the cross and what Jesus have gone through will have in the last few seconds of the dying moments, will have the strength to cry out to the Lord. Practically, thinking of it, one would only, die with a moan, with a small sigh, but, crying out to the Lord, here I commit my spirit into your hands, is something that only, a supernatural, divine creation like, Jesus would be able to do. And we can clearly see that his divinity, as Brother Kiran has mentioned, right? So the divinity, he is fully man and he is fully God. And this is another evidence, another witness of, at his dying moments, he crying out with all his strength that, Father, here I commit my spirit into your hands. What an amazing witness. So, and most of the words that, all through his ministry, last 3.5 years of his life, all through his ministry, if we see, Jesus was quoting his words from Old Testament most of the times we see, right? And even this verse is coming from one of the Psalm of David that we see, Psalm 31:5, that David says, into your hands I commit my life, I commit my spirit, is what is David saying. And the context we look at David, when he was quoting this verse, he was running for his life. He was asking for God's protection on his life and his family. And this is where the context is coming. And he's actually committing his life to the presence of God, that God may protect him. But here, in this context, if you see, the word that Jesus have been quoting here from the same Old Testament, he is actively committing his spirit. He is not dying. If we see, in most of the times when we read about Jesus, the remarkable preachings about Jesus that we see from many of the men of God, I have hardly found people writing about Jesus that Jesus was dying on the cross. But most of the times I see that Jesus was breathing his last. Breathing his last and dying are so different. We, all creatures, we die passively, right? So death is not something one wants to experience. Death is not something that one can do at their will. But here we see that Jesus is breathing his last, that he knows, and it's at his disposal, is what we can clearly see, right? So then this is only possible for a divine man like Jesus. So that's what I wanted to emphasize. So he was breathing his last, and he's literally doing the act of committing the spirit into the hands of God. So this is an act. This is an active act that Jesus is doing. He's actively committing his spirit into the hands of God by his will. And if we see that, and he has been a servant-like son, executing all the tasks that the Father was expecting him to do, and finally giving an account of what God was expecting to do to God the Father. It is like, owner of a garden or owner of a farm engaging a farmer or a gardener, to come and do the work, week in, week out, right? So the farmer has completed all his work, and at the end, he is tired. He had a hectic day. This gardener has a hectic day, but at the end, still he is coming to the father, or he's coming to the owner of this vineyard or this garden, and giving the owner the account and handing him over the key, right? Okay, and then he's saying that I'm going to come again. And the same I could really experience that as a servant of, as a servant-like attitude, he is committing the key. He is committing the spirit into the hands of his Father who has, chosen him, who has sent him. And then he is going to come again. He's going to come again. Amen. So, and then I see the intentional submission from Jesus. So this is the internal submission, as it says in John 10:18. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to give it up again. The command I received from my Father. What a wonderful scripture that we see, right? So and we can clearly see that God is having total authority on what He wants to do. And at the same time, I was pondering upon the suffering of Jesus, the physical and the emotional suffering, but I was also, thinking about how the Father's heart would be responding at that very moment. We all know that Jesus is going through, and He's doing the will of God, and He has that very purpose that the Father has given Him. But at the same time, the person or the Father Himself, who has deployed His Son to accomplish this supernatural thing, what would His heart be going through? Then I only could get reminded of Abraham's heart when he was commanded to sacrifice his son, right? So we all know what kind of pain Abraham has gone through. He already lost Isaac in his heart. Even before he walked onto the mount to sacrifice his son, in his heart Abraham already lost his son, and great was his pain. And God was for some reason reminding me, if we can experience, if we can think about the kind of pain that God would have gone through when Jesus is going through his suffering, I think Abraham's, he is what I could think of, and I could, connect it to. In the spiritual realm, Jesus has already been crucified even before he was born. And we only see that in reality, that Jesus is being crucified because it was already done. Just like Abraham has already experienced the death of his son, or the sacrifice even before he could do, God already has experienced it, and God's heart was equally going through that emotional pain and suffering that Jesus has been going through. I think I just want to get all of us reminded about that. And why, what all of this submission, we see an exemplary act of submission and obedience through this very verse. And what is all of this, bringing us to? What does this mean to the humanity? This submission, this obedience from Jesus to God the Father. What does it mean? And in the previous verse 44, we see, and the curtain of the temple was torn into two. What does this mean? In the Old Testament, if we see Genesis 26 chapter, I believe, Exodus 26 chapter, I believe, right? So in this verse, it says that this is a thick curtain, as thick as the palm of a human hand. Thick curtain, huge curtain, which is separating the holy place from the most holy place, right? And the holy place is where the people could go to, but the most holy place is people do not have access to. And this curtain being torn signifies that Jesus is clearing the way for a human to have access to the all-holy God. God is holy, man is sin, right? So we do not have access to sin. All have to be apples to apples or oranges to orange, right? So apples to oranges, we cannot really compare. So the holy God, a sinner like us, cannot get into the presence of a holy God, right? And we had to be holy, and the only way for us to be holy was, Jesus dying on the cross. If there would have been any other way for God to work salvation in our lives, Jesus would have never died on the cross, right? So I think all of us, I encourage all of us to get reminded of this. This signifies the way being open for us to get into the most holy presence. And this is what his submission means to us. And the next thing is, Jesus was earning salvation for us. There was no way for us to earn salvation, for us to, be saved, and for us to enter into the eternity of God. But it's only through him that, we could experience the salvation, which Ephesians 2:8 says, "For it is by grace you have been saved, through faith, and this is not from yourself. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." It is nothing by our works, but it is the gift of God. And one other thing is, the submission of Jesus is giving us the life out of death. So it is giving each one of us a life which is eternal, which is imperishable. This is the life that we are getting from the dead, from when Jesus was breathing his last actively. He was really breathing life in each one of us. Through that last breath He was taking for us actively, He was breathing life for each one of us. And the other one I want to point here was hope for the hopeless. You know, many times, the hope, we might have seen hopeless situations. The lame man for 38 years at the pool of Bethesda, hopeless situation. The Israelites going through that very tough persecution while they were in Egypt, hopeless situation. And even in this hopeless situation, that lame man waiting for 38 years, he had some glimmer of hope. And that is the very reason he was waiting for 38 years. There was some glimmer of hope for him that he would be cured. And these Israelites who were suffering in the Egypt, right? They had a glimmer of hope even after that tiring and taking the beatings all through their day, hard work. Egyptians were, ripping them apart all through the day. But at the end of the day, they had that hope that they would go home and get some rest, right? To experience that suffering again tomorrow. But they had the hope that they would go home and get some rest. But here, Jesus had no hope. Jesus was experiencing this suffering only by the fact that it's going to get worse, and worse to the point of his death. Knowing that, what kind of a hope would one have, right? He was in such a hopeless situation, giving us hope. And this particular thing was, should give each one of us that hope that we would experience through his death. And this is the kind of hope that would encourage each one of us, to have his fellowship in our lives. And after knowing all of this, how can we respond to what he has accomplished, to what he has done on the cross? I could only think of these things. Hebrews 7:25 says, he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. How we can respond. So if we could come to him into the arms of the everlasting Father, just the way Jesus has thrown himself into the arms of the everlasting Father, can we run into the arms of the everlasting Father? And and Jesus is there for us, is there for us to intercede for us all the time. And the next thing is trust and surrender. I think just the way the psalmist writes, but I trust in you, O Lord, right? So it is up to us. After knowing that Jesus has done this marvelous work, all we need to do is trust in him. With our complete heart, just like a child would trust in their parent. Right? So it's like that kind of a trust is what I. And lastly, surrender. Surrender is one thing that I wanted to quote here and stress upon. By dying, Jesus threw himself, and the kind of experience that he was going through was, it was a discouragement, it was darkness, it was no hope around him. And I would encourage each one of us to get reminded at this time, that darkness you might have gone through, that very tough situation you might have gone through in your life. I can remember my hopeless situation when I did not know Jesus. I was in a hopeless situation, right? So I didn't know if I'm going to live or not, if I'm going to have a home, if I'm going to have food or not, if I'm going to have clothes to wear or not. From such situation, if we can get reminded of such a situation, and at this time to give thanks to God and to throw ourselves into the everlasting arms of the Father, what a great honor it is going to be to our Lord and Savior. I would like to take this opportunity right now for all of us to quickly repeat this this prayer after me, to submit our lives into the everlasting arms of the Father. Just we can remain seated and just this prayer after me. Lord God, I recognize my faults. You could have condemned me because of them, but you chose to condemn Jesus in my place. Thank you for his sufferings and his death on the cross. I pray that you forgive all my sins. Give me your spirit and enable me today to start a new life in fellowship with you. I want to follow you, to be attentive to your voice and to please to you. Without waiting, I now commit myself into your hands. In Jesus' name, amen.